Welcome to Stoked with Megan McPhail, the podcast that helps you get super effing jazzed about your work, life, and bank account. I'm your host, Megan McPhail, a former burnt-out emergency veterinarian that quit my hard-earned career to become a seven-figure business coach, entrepreneur, and elopement photographer. Now I'm living a life I absolutely love, full of travel, adventure, and financial abundance, and I am hell-bent on inspiring others to do the same. Are you ready to say goodbye to the 9-to-5 grind and start going after some big, bold dreams? Then let's dive into this week's episode.
Hey, it's your host, Todd Reedy, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be interviewing Megan as a pretend guest.
I'm really excited about this because I didn't have to think of anything for this podcast or do any prior research, so this is great. I just get to show up and talk.
So we do ask before we jump in that if you do find value and are enjoying this podcast, that you would get on your podcast provider, Apple or Spotify or wherever else you listen to podcasts, and give us a review. It's super helpful to get this podcast in front of other folks. And yeah, we would just love to get some feedback and have a review out there. So thank you. All right. So these are some questions, and we're going to do 10 real questions and 10 kind of rapid fire, quick fun questions.
Oh, dang, 20 questions?
20 questions, yeah. And Megan does not know these questions beforehand, so it's going to be just raw answers from Megan. So Here we go. Number 1, what are you most proud of?
Ooh, I like this question. I'm most proud of the fact that I quit veterinary medicine and was kind of brave enough or courageous enough to do that, and that I've been able to create my businesses and that I love them 95% of the time. And yeah, that I've been able to create a life for myself and kind of been a trailblazer for other people. And yeah, I'm just really proud of the life that we've created together. And yeah, just life and business, but definitely quitting veterinary medicine. My proudest moment was becoming a doctor. And then my proudest moment has become quitting that because it didn't serve me.
Cool. All right. Number 2. Who did you look up to or lean on for motivation when building your first business?
Good question. So my first business would be photography. And I would have to say the Denver Photo Buddies Facebook group. I made some friends in there. I got support in there. It was one of the few Facebook groups where people were really cheering each other on instead of being toxic to each other. And I don't know what I would have done without that Facebook group because I was kind of just doing everything by myself. I didn't really know any other entrepreneurs. Everyone at my vet job thought I was crazy. So yeah, it was probably that Facebook group.
That's so interesting. You are always harping and like ripping on Facebook groups for being so negative. And yeah.
So. Well, now they stress me out. And even back then, I mean, it was helpful, but I ended up having to stop really participating in it because you just hear everyone's horror stories and bad things that happen to people or negative feedback from brides or whatever. And it ended up giving me a lot of anxiety. But at the beginning, it was very helpful.
All right. Number 3, if you could have any one person to be a guest on this podcast, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Oh, is this like anyone
Yeah, anyone.
In the whole wide world?
Whole wide world, past, present, future.
Oh God, I don't know. Part of me wants to say like Barack Obama or something. Part of me wants to say Jen Sincero because I really feel like her book about money changed my life. I feel like that's all cliche. I don't know. Lately, I've really wanted to have my dad on the podcast because we're currently up in Taos, New Mexico, which is where my parents live, and we go skiing a lot. And so I've had a bunch of drives with my dad lately where it's just me and him or just me and him on the chairlift, and we've been chatting, and he has some little nuggets, some like business nuggets that I want to pull out of him. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that's kind of a roundabout answer.
I like Barack Obama, Jen Sincero, and your dad, Alan McPhail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. All right, number 4. If you could recommend one book to listeners, what would it be? And what would you hope that they would get from it?
Oh, definitely You Are Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. It just completely changed my outlook on money. Like, I just think of it so differently, and the way you think about money pretty much dictates your whole life. And I've talked a lot about it on here and then on social media and stuff about how it's so impossible to pay off loans because they're so front loaded with interest. So, I mean, my loans just kind of just made me feel really like I couldn't accomplish anything because so much of my money was going towards paying that. I was convinced that I couldn't ever buy a house because in order to qualify for a mortgage, like my income had to be really high in order to compensate for my student loan payments. And as an entrepreneur and small business owner, when you're doing taxes and you're writing everything off, your income ends up looking really small. So, I just thought that I was always going to be on the struggle bus for life unless I married rich. That was going to be my game plan. Not seriously, though. But yeah, and then I read that book and it just totally changed everything that I thought about money. And I realized that I didn't have to be a victim of my circumstances and that I could change them. And it made me really empowered. And I had already felt like I was empowered, but there was still kind of like that missing piece of the puzzle, which was my thoughts about money. I used to do the whole Dave Ramsey thing, and that really fucked up my mindset about money. I mean, I felt so guilty anytime I spent money. And now I don't feel guilty and it flows freely and easily to me. And sometimes I have setbacks where I get back into scarcity mode and I'm like, oh my God, I don't have enough and everything's hard and stuff like that. But for the most part, it just changed my life. And it's the reason why I have everything that I have right now.
We've known each other now for like 4 years.
Mhm.
And I think we probably listened to it on audiobook maybe twice already. So
Yeah.
I think it's one that like it's worth revisiting, even if you've read it or listened to it before, because there's new nuggets that you'll take away.
For sure. Yeah. At different stages in life and business, it's a good read or listen.
Cool. All right. Let's go on to number 5, which is describe your typical day for the listeners.
Oh, God. Well, I'm very lucky to have Todd as my husband because he wakes up in the morning and he takes the dogs out and he feeds them and he makes coffee while I lay in bed. And I really love to sleep in. Lately, it's been a little hard with the puppies that we have. But for the most part, I get up whenever I feel like it and I go out and drink some coffee and I sit on the couch with my puppies and my dogs and kind of relax. And it takes a long time for my brain to start running on all cylinders. So I really like that kind of morning time. I'm trying to get out of the habit of scrolling on my phone or like reading all my Slack messages or whatever and actually reading or listening to music or something like that. But then I try to eat something and then I do some work, which is normally Zoom calls or answering questions in Slack or adjusting my ads or whatever it is. Then hopefully I eat something. Sometimes I don't remember to eat and then Todd reminds me, but lately you've been forgetting about lunch too. So then there's a time in the afternoon where I tend to just pace around the house and wander and my brain can't really function about stuff. And that's really common where people have periods in the day where they feel like they can do like focused brain work and then periods of the day where it's harder to focus with your brain, but you can kind of use your body more. And so I think that's my focused brain work is kind of like late morning. And then when I should be working out and I'm not, is in the afternoon when I do that pacing stuff and can't really focus on stuff. What else? And then we have dinner and cocktails and watch Netflix. When we're at home, it's very chill. A lot of my day involves letting the dogs in and out of the backyard. Yeah, that's a typical day when we're at home. When we're traveling, it's like, who knows what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. Number 6, what is one thing in your business life that you would like to learn more about or be more proficient at?
That's a good question. I'm thinking, well, I'm really enjoying learning more about ads and all the various ways they can be used and really utilizing them more for my education side of the business. Yeah, like basically maximizing my return on ad spend, knowing what kind of ads perform the best, kind of like what combo to use. Yeah, just everything ads related. I'm really enjoying it. And I feel like it's the best part of my business because I can kind of set them and forget them and I don't have to do a lot of hustling. And yeah, they're just amazing.
All right, number 7. What are your thoughts on tying your identity to your work?
I think that part of it, I mean, if you do what I talk about on this podcast, which is like find your purpose, listen to your energy, listen to your inner knowing and follow your intuition, all that kind of stuff, then like your identity and your work are very tied together. And in that way, I think it's really great because then you're really doing something that you enjoy, that you feel drawn to, and that you feel pulled to. And it's kind of like the meaning of your life. But I feel like a lot of people, their identity is wrapped up in being a doctor or a lawyer or a physicist or whatever it is. Even if that career isn't serving them, they feel like, well, I'm going to be a nobody if I'm not this doctor or something. And that's just what society tells us. That's not real life. But I do think a lot of people get stuck in their jobs because of that. And I don't like that.
Yeah, the idea of like people doing things for the title and like the impression to other people, or is it like, are people doing things because they like the day-to-day, the actual like work of it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, because I've shot several weddings for like doctors or like people who are still in med school and stuff, and they're talking about their residencies and their specialties and all that kind of stuff. And then I feel like, oh man, like I'm just sitting here as the photographer. Like these bridesmaids don't know that I'm actually kind of an accomplished doctor. And there's parts of me sometimes where I'm like, they probably just think I'm just a photographer, you know, but that's all silly. You know, I feel like that's how we're conditioned to think. But then I feel bad for them because I know they're all excited about this career that's going to fucking crush them, you know?
Yeah.
And that they're going to not have the quality of life that I have. And they're not going to be able to travel all the time and do whatever and sleep in, you know, and do whatever they want. So I end up feeling sad for them. But there is a part of me that's like, I'm a doctor too, you know, I'm cool. So,
oh man,
it's weird.
All right, number 8. How do you prioritize between short-term gains and long-term growth? Are there specific strategies you employ to balance these objectives?
This is interesting because I do think that short-term growth can come at the expense of a lot of things. Client experience, your own mental health. There's a lot of people who want this really kind of overnight success, short-term growth. But I think that more sustained long-term growth in your business is better, personally, from like a quality of life standpoint, from expectations, from being able to provide a quality service to people. So I think that when something comes too quickly and too easily, it's normally because somebody or something is being exploited. And that's just not a long-term strategy for a business, you know, at least not in what I want it to be a part of. So I think that, you know, it could either just be the client experience that's probably being exploited to, you know, have these kind of overnight successes. And I like that you asked this question because we're bombarded all the time with marketing and ads and all this stuff. And I used to feel bad where people were like, oh, I made $5 million in 2 years, you know? And I'm like, cool, good for you. But like, what happened with your clients? What successes did your clients have? Because I'm really focused on the successes of the people that hire me. And I don't want to grow my business quickly at their expense. So I'm kind of on this slow growth trajectory that I'm really happy with, that I'm really trying to preach to other people because it's sustainable for me. It's sustainable for our clients. Our clients feel served. They're getting good results. And I really lead my marketing and my sales with the results of my clients and not my results anymore. So hopefully that answered it.
Yeah, I like it. That's interesting. You like went more of, even with that, like talking about short-term gains and then the long-term growth, like big picture stuff. And my mind went immediately to how do you like coordinate your time to like do things that are urgent and necessary, like they need to be done now for the short-term gains. And then how do you like prioritize time to do like long-term big picture thinking?
Ooh, so like quadrant 1, quadrant 2 type of thinking with like tasks. Yeah, well, that's why you're the operations manager and I'm not. Because, yeah, I mean, you could think of it as like your business as a whole or from like a day-to-day standpoint of like, what do I do today? And yeah, there are tasks that need to be done on a day-to-day basis, but then you also have to constantly work on the things that don't have a deadline or urgency. And I don't know, it's really hard for me to do those things unless I'm intrinsically motivated in them. And so thank God I just really enjoy some of the things that I do. And plus, there's normally some kind of monetary kickback. So there's a
Incentive.
yeah, an incentive and a reward for getting those things done in my business. So,
All right. If you were to start a brand new business in 2024, what would it be?
Ooh,
Like unrelated to anything you've ever done before.
Unrelated. Well, I really want to, there's several businesses that I want to pursue at some point. One of them is a short-term rental Airbnb type business because I just really want to decorate an Airbnb and have everything be a write-off and get money for having a cool property with cool interior design. I also really want to create like an e-commerce brand where I'm selling products. Back in like 2014, I used to create like my own skincare products. And I've always thought about doing a skincare brand kind of marketed towards campers, hikers, travelers, van lifers, like those kinds of people where they need products that are kind of non-toxic, biodegradable, organic, good for the environment. Like I really want to do something like that. I've also always wanted to design engagement rings. So I have lots of ideas, but I think probably the most reasonable one would be someday investing in an e-commerce brand of some kind just to diversify things.
Interesting. Okay.
What did you think I was going to say?
I know all those, but I didn't know which one would be the highest priority. And it seems like the e-commerce thing. Interesting.
You know, I love branding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like putting your own brand on a product and selling it. And like now that I have ads all figured out, I feel like I could kick some butt.
All right. And the last like serious one is, where do you see yourself in 2 years? I know you don't like a 5-year, 10-year plan. Let's talk 2 years from now. So it's March 2026.
Dang. I see us living in Taos with just probably 2 or 3 dogs.
How about business-wise?
Business-wise, I mean, I think I'm going to be doing the same thing except not doing any more elopements. I think we've both agreed that we're going to stop Hazel and Lace probably in the next year or so and just focus on education. I'm feeling called to kind of branch out with my education and teach coaching and education from like an ethical standpoint where really like the results of your clients are the biggest priority. I don't see a lot of people doing that. It's like everyone's marketing is all about how much money they made. And, you know, I want to change that. I want it to be about the results you got for your clients being like the main priority. So probably doing something like that. Maybe hosting some fun retreats that are not portfolio building for photographers, but more about business and going to some cool locations. Maybe I'll have an e-commerce brand started. Who knows? Are you down with all that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these things we've talked about before.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just the timeline and what do you put your energy or what do we put our energy towards?
Yeah.
And what are we enjoying and stuff? So, yeah.
Totally.
Cool. All right. So, this next section is rapid fire, a type of like quick, funner questions so the listeners can get to know you a little bit better.
Did you just say funner?
Funner, yeah. Funner questions. All right. So, number 1, what is your dream car or dream cars?
Man, I feel like there's a lot. So part of me really wants a G-Wagon and just to be flashy. I don't know why. There was a G-Wagon in our old neighborhood and it was like the coolest looking car. So part of me just wants one. Part of me also just wants like a fixed up Jeep, you know, with like big tires and I don't know what else we would do to it, but mainly just big tires and rims. And another part of me really wants a new Tundra because I have one, but it's old and part of me wants a new one. So there we go. Mostly kind of off-road type vehicles though.
Yeah, that's more our lifestyle.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. What is your favorite comfort food?
Ooh, lots of things. I'm definitely like an emotional eater. So, I mean, crumble cookies for sure. There's like many nights where I order crumble cookies for delivery because of some feelings that I have about stuff. Right now, microwavable White Castle cheeseburgers.
Classy.
Yeah. And then I think like as far as like going out to eat or something, just like pizza and beer. Like that's such a comfort to me is pizza and beer.
Oh, that goes right into our next question.
Hmm.
For beer, IPA, light beer, or dark beer?
I would say like a hazy IPA or like a juicy IPA or something light. But I'm not a fan of the dark or stouts or anything like that.
On the line of alcoholic beverages, white wine or red wine?
Depends on what I'm eating.
Okay.
Gotta be classy, you know?
Yeah. Then what is your go-to coffee order?
Just like cold brew normally. But sometimes I'll get fancy if we're traveling. Cause like I remember in Hawaii, I got like an ube latte or something. It was purple and that was really good. But yeah, normally just like cold brew.
All right. Who is your favorite celebrity to follow?
I don't know if I follow any celebrities really.
I mean, no, like royal family or the Kardashians or reality stars.
I mean, things will pop up on Instagram. I can't really think of anybody that I really enjoy following or that I look forward to as far as celebrities go. But you know, my thing is whatever TV show I'm watching, I will then go on Reddit to see what everyone's opinions are about it. Like I'll watch Love is Blind, and after every episode, I'll look on Reddit and be like, do people have the same opinions about this as me? Like, what do people say about this person? What do people say about that person? I don't know why I do it. It's like psychology.
And do most people think like you do or have opinions like yours?
I think I find that most people have way more opinions than I do. And yeah, I feel like sometimes like I'm an outsider and I'm trying to figure out human behavior, like an alien or something. And so, yeah, I'll watch these things and then, yeah, I just want to get other people's opinions on it. And most people pick up on a lot of things that I don't necessarily pick up on. But then there's some times where something really bugs me and then everyone's opinion is something opposite. And I find that very interesting.
Okay. Well, that takes us into the next question, which is name a guilty pleasure.
Oh, Love is Blind.
Or whatever love reality show is
Yeah.
currently hot on Netflix.
Yeah, Married at First Sight, Too Hot to Handle, Perfect Match, all of those. Yeah, I watch all of them. I don't care. I love them. And I use them at night to like turn my brain off. Otherwise, my brain just goes a million miles an hour forever and it sucks.
And then I get sucked in and watch right along with you.
Oh, yeah. You were into this last season of Love is Blind.
Yeah.
I'm so reluctant to say. Yeah.
Yeah, the characters are just characters.
Yeah. They're crazy.
All right. If you won the lottery,
Mm-hmm.
what would be the first big thing you would purchase?
Ooh. There's so many things I could do with lottery winnings.
Okay, well then just name a couple then. You don't have to be one.
I mean, I'd probably want to save most of it, but then I would buy a new house. I'd buy a G-Wagon. I'd send us first class to some really cool destinations. I would be bougie AF in a lot of things. Probably not my clothing or my appearance. I'd be like stealth bougie. But yeah, or unless we get this house and house that we're looking at, I'll probably just fix that up. Or no, I'd probably buy a new one because I want lots of real estate. But yeah, that's never going to happen. Winning the lottery.
Since we don't play.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, this is an old question,
Mm.
but maybe you have a new answer. What type of shoe would best reflect your personality and lifestyle?
This is one of the first questions Todd ever asked me when we matched on Bumble. So at the time I said my black sorrel boots because I was wearing them every day, all the time, everywhere, to elopements, to dinners, to our date. I wore those boots. There was like my staple. And I think you said Chacos, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I think now I would do Birkenstocks and Blundstones.
So those are your two current personalities?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I like it. Ooh, okay. And then the last one. Name one item that you cannot live without, excluding your phone or computer.
Ooh. Can I say my dogs?
Of course.
My pit bulls. My snuggly, sweet little pit bulls. That's what I'm going to say.
I think that's perfect.
Okay.
All right. Those were all my questions I prepared. So, yeah.
Well, this was great that I didn't have to prepare anything ahead of time.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. And it was much harder being on this side asking the questions. But as the host, I'll say thank you for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed it and it was a little bit different and a little bit more fun and whimsical than our usual topics. So we'll be back to
regularly scheduled programming.
with entrepreneurial mindset, photography, business coaching type stuff next week. So thanks.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode of Stoked with Megan McPhail. If you enjoyed the show and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, and tell a friend. If you're looking for more inspiring content, check us out on Instagram at Stoked with Megan McPhail. And to learn more about my business coaching and how I can personally help you quit your 9-to-5, visit my website at meganmcphail.com. I hope this leaves you feeling stoked. See you next week.